Combining their well-rounded offensive skill set, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum form a deadly duo that gives opposing teams headaches every single night. But those headaches are somewhat relieved when opposing teams know that going up against the Blazers also means going up against one of the worst defenses in the league. And much like how Dame and CJ are the leaders of the Blazers' dynamic offense, they're also at the very core of their atrocious defense. In today's video, we're taking a look at the pairing of Dame and CJ, talking about the Blazers' future and whether or not they can build a championship core. What's up guys, welcome to MDJ, my name is Mark, and I guess you could call this my 2018 Blazers preview because in my eyes, this is not only the most interesting storyline, it's also going to be the most important factor as to how good the Blazers will be next season. They had an extremely uneventful offseason, mostly because they had no cap space. Their only moves as of August 1st are adding rookies Zach Collins and Caleb Swanigan and trading Allen Crabbe for Andrew Nicholson. And because there's no drastic improvement on paper, it's hard seeing this team being a top 4 seed in the West, much less a contender for this upcoming season. Most Blazers fans are banking on their 14-6 record with Jusuf Nurkic on the team as evidence for this team winning 55 plus games, which is slightly misconstrued. Jusuf Nurkic is a very unique player. He's got a little throwback flavor in his game with his post-up, rebounding, and bruiser playstyle. Interestingly, his size makes him the type of player that the Warriors aren't really well equipped to deal with, but we'll talk about that later in a minute. So there's no question that the Blazers got better by swapping Plumlee for Nurkic. When the Blazers traded for Nurkic, they were the 26th worst defense in the league with a 108.9 defensive rating. Defensive rating measures how many points you give up per 100 possessions, so a lower defensive rating is better, just to clarify. After trading for Nurkic and before Nurkic got injured on March 30th, their defensive rating improved by 3.5 points per 100 possessions, which is not bad. But this improvement doesn't tell the whole story. When you look at how the opponents scored against Portland with and without Nurkic, you can see that they scored better in the paint and that the defensive improvement came from the lower mid-range and especially lower three-pointer percentage. But this doesn't actually prove that they were better on defense for a number of reasons. Number 1 is 20 games, small sample size. Number 2 is that out of those 20 teams they faced, only 6 were above average three-point shooting teams. Miami, Denver, Milwaukee, San Antonio, Washington, and Houston. So that explains most of the dip in three-pointer percentage. It had less to do with Portland and more to do with Portland's opponents. And number 3 is that they just played some really bad teams. The Nets, the Knicks, the Lakers, Sixers, Suns, Magic, etc. So while I do agree, you can tell from just watching Portland games that Nurkic definitely made them better. I'm not sure it's that much better like some believe it to be, especially defensively. So the Blazers ended up 23rd in defensive rating for the whole year, which is still well below average. And the truth is, Nurkic might have made the defense a little bit better, but he didn't make Dame or CJ better defensively, which is what matters. I'll show you guys the numbers first. Defensive win shares, Damian Lillard 1.5, ranked 161st in the league. CJ McCollum 1.4 win shares, which is 181st in the league. Both are ranked behind Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie Irving, two other well-known bad defenders. Defensive box plus minus, Damian Lillard, negative 2.0, ranked 387th in the league. CJ McCollum, negative 2.3, ranked 418th in the league. Defensive rating, both 113, tied 408th in the league. Here's the thing. No defense statistic is perfect. You can't objectively or quantifiably perfectly measure how good a player is defensively. They all have their flaws in how they're calculated, and hopefully in the future I'll get to explain some of them later. When every single defensive metric places you as not only a bad defender, in some cases one of the worst defenders in the league, then I'm sorry, yeah, you're a bad defender. And the eye test proves this as well. Damian Lillard struggles mightily fighting through screens and for whatever reason seems 10 steps slower on defense than he does on offense. CJ McCollum is listed as 6'4", but let's be real, he's the same height as Damian Lillard, and his height is an enormous disadvantage as a shooting guard. This is no better shown than when Klay Thompson posted him up over and over again in the playoffs and scoring on him over and over again. But his height isn't the only issue, he also can't contain quicker players one-on-one. Look at this, Curry gets the ball, pump fake, hezzy, boom, right past CJ McCollum, layup. It's not a big deal to have a bad defender at the guard position. We've seen plenty of teams like the Rockets with Harden, the Spurs with Parker, and the Celtics with Isaiah be above average defenses with a bad defender. But the key is they all paired those players with a really good defender. We're living in the golden era of point guards and perimeter scorers, so can you get away with having 2 bad defenders on the perimeter? Against most teams, you can somewhat get away with having 1 bad defender. Case in point, when OKC and Houston play one another, you put Beverly on Russ and Harden on Roberson and vice versa, and you're fine. Portland doesn't have that luxury though. When they play OKC, they have to put Lillard on Russ. And in their last 3 meetings, Westbrook has scored 42, 48, and 58 respectively against Portland. And Portland is even more screwed whenever they go up against a team that has 2 good offensive guards. They're 1-10 against Steph and Clay in their past 11 meetings, lost both their games against the Wizards this past season with Wall and Beal, lost the 2 games this season and the 2 games last season against the Raptors with Lowry and DeRozan, and is 1-6 against the Clippers in the last 2 seasons with Chris Paul and JJ Redick. So in other words, the Blazers are basically screwed whenever they can't hide at least one of their 2 bad defenders, perimeter defenders, on an opposing guard. The big picture question is, can you win a championship with 2 bad defenders at arguably the 2 most important positions in the NBA? And the answer is most likely no. The only non-top 10 defense to win a championship in modern NBA history were the 0-1 Lakers. And as good as Damian and CJ are, let's just say that they're not Kobe and Shaq. So what's the solution? Well, if Portland is still trying to win a championship, which I assume is their #1 priority, in my eyes, there's 4 potential solutions that could help alleviate this problem. Solution 1, you place such an elite group of defenders around Dame and CJ that they can basically get carried defensively the same way they carry the Portland offense. But this is unlikely because Portland has already built a pretty good defensive team around them. Maurice Harkless, Al-Farouq Aminu, Nurkic, and even Noah Vonleh all range from good to even very good in Harkless' case. And they don't have the cap space to make that many additions to the team to really make their defense that much better. Solution number 2, play Dame and CJ less together. The problem with this is that their offense suffers mightily from that. When McCollum isn't on the floor with Dame, their offensive rating drops by 7.8 points, which turns them from a top 10 offense to a bottom 10 offense. And plus in crunch time, you're going to have to play them together anyway, so this solution isn't really effective. Solution 3, you trade one of them, and if it happens, it's probably going to be CJ because Lillard is clearly their franchise player. Months ago, there were rumors about CJ for a PG, which reportedly didn't end up happening because Portland had no confidence that they could get Paul George to re-sign long term. And that's the issue with trading away star players, is that you're never going to get equal value in return, especially if you're not looking to rebuild. And because of this reality, I'm personally against the Blazers trading away CJ, especially since him and Dame have such good chemistry together offensively. And so this brings us to solution number 4, which is the simplest solution. Either Lillard or McCollum, or ideally both, get better defensively. In McCollum's case, having very below average height and vertical athleticism for a shooting guard will always limit him defensively, but he doesn't have an excuse for being too slow to guard smaller players. Lillard has even less of an excuse. He's not undersized, he's one of the quickest and fastest players in the league, and he has hops. I forget the former NBA coach that said defense is 70% effort. In all honesty, effort seems to be the biggest issue for both, especially Lillard. I'm not expecting either to give 100% defensively because of how much they do offensively. It's not realistic to expect that. But now that they have Nurkic, who average nearly 20 points per game, they have less of an excuse to not give effort defensively. We've seen a guy like Steph Curry who came into the league a horrible defender, below average size, below average athleticism, below average almost anything defensively. But he eventually worked his way into being a very solid defender. For a guy who's as competitive as Damian Lillard, I hope his desire to win can make him humble enough to put his head down and work on his defense, which is a lot more boring than taking pull-up jumpers in the gym, but it's what his team needs. And one of these 4 solutions needs to happen for Portland to take their team to the next level. Because while good defense does not guarantee championships, bad defense most definitely guarantees a playoff exit. Go ahead, drop your thoughts on this topic. Do you think they should consider trading CJ? Do you think this core can ever win a championship? Let me know in the comments section below. Other than that, I've taken up enough of your time. My name is Mark, aka MDJ. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Feeling kinda strange, feeling kinda off. Don't know what's really going on. I feel like something's up and I can only guess the cause. It doesn't matter when, doesn't matter where. Always hits me when I'm unprepared.